Hello students. To understand the friction, how it operates in a better fashion, we will conduct an experiment. And there are some laws of friction. We will be deriving all these laws from that experiment. So basically we will take a table. Imagine that there is a pulley, fixed pulley, okay, and here there is a block of mass small m, let us say, and it is tied, and this side we have a pan and we have certain weights we can put on the pan to increase the weight. Okay, so in fact we are pulling it with certain force, and inside that there is a tension in the string. In the experiment we are taking some weights with us, and we can keep more and more weights so that the tension will be increased, or the pull with which we want to pull it on the table surface will be increasing. Okay, and this tension here is nothing but the applied force, and there will be a frictional force will come into play here, right? And what are the forces acting here? If we look, so one is the weight in downward direction, that is mg, and this block is not digging down or not flying up, that's why it will be balanced with the normal reaction, which is equal to mg in this case, right? Now some weights are there and it's just not moving. Now we increase the weights more and more, so it's still not moving. We went on increasing for the particular value of this applied force. This suddenly started to move. Okay, now what weight is given, what force is applied to pull it, and what happens here? What is the frictional force? All the time we are pulling it, but still it's not moving, means there is a frictional force, right? So if we record all these things, it's one experiment, right? If you are taking tension T along x-axis and a frictional force, and the frictional force is simply called friction along y-axis, then it is seen that whatever is the tension, that much is the frictional force. If it's, let us say, 1 Newton, 1 Newton, 2 Newton, 2 Newton, like that, it continues till a particular position. So till that point, tension is equal to friction, exactly. So till that point comes, the graph is a straight line. But after that, what happens? If tension is further increased, it will start to move. Okay, but it reaches a maximum value, then it just falls and then remains a constant. The logic behind it is there is an inertia of a rest, right? This block is already at a rest, so to make it move, that inertia has to overcome. That's why a little more force is required to make it move. But once it moves, after that it doesn't require to change the state again and again, right? So little less force is required, and but that force, beyond that force, the frictional force doesn't increase itself. Till then it was a self-adjusting force. Till then, whatever is the tension, frictional force. See, for example, here whatever is the tension, that much is the frictional force. Whatever is the tension, that much is the frictional force. So frictional force was self-adjusting till here, and after that it cannot increase itself further. It remains constant. But that constant part doesn't become from here, it falls a little and then it remains a constant. Okay, now by you have understood this concept, I hope, and certain names are given. See, this is called, in from path here to here in between, it is called static friction, Fs, static friction. Static friction means static frictional force. Okay, so in short it's written static friction. Now static friction can be zero, it can increase till it reaches its maximum value. Okay, the maximum value of a static friction is called a limiting friction. Limiting friction. And limiting friction is nothing but the maximum value of a static friction. Okay, And when, as I said, it falls and then remains constant, this point is called kinetic friction. When the body is in actual motion, it started moving, then what is the frictional force is called kinetic friction. Okay. And limiting friction, the static friction is a self-adjusting force. It can be zero also, it can be maximum also. The maximum value is called the limiting friction. So limiting friction is a fixed value. It is the maximum value of static friction. Okay, you can clearly see this thing. Now there are some laws of friction, so you can write this if you are maintaining the notes. This type of approach of a teaching will help you to make that notes also simultaneously. Now, laws of limiting friction. See, the first law says the direction of frictional force is always opposite to the direction of a relative motion or tendency of a relative motion. How you can see this from this experiment? Now, if you put some loads here, till a certain moment comes, till a certain load is not starting to move, that means what? Frictional force was opposing it. It was opposing the tendency of a relative motion. It was not moving, but there was a tendency that this block would move in this direction and the frictional force was opposing it. But at the same time, in this experiment only, if you pull from this side, if you pull, then also the same thing will happen. Till you pull with a certain particular force, below that it's not moving. That means then frictional force is in opposite direction. This side frictional force is acting. So frictional force is always in opposite direction to the relative motion. If it is moving, it is in this direction, and if it is moving in this side, the frictional force will be in this direction. So it will be always opposing the relative motion or tendency of a relative motion. It's clear. Now the second law is the force of limiting friction depends on the nature of surfaces in contact and acts tangentially to the interface between them. What it says, see, if two bodies which are in contact, let us say this is iron and this is a wooden table. Iron, wood, different combinations. If you take a different material, in fact the nature of surfaces, that the surfaces also may be very rough or it is polished, or what is the nature of the surfaces in the contact, on that what will be the frictional force, what will be the limiting friction, it depends on that factor. That's what this point is saying. The force of limiting friction depends on the nature of the surfaces in contact and acts tangentially to the interface between them. So see, this is the tangentially, this is the surface interface between them. This is a tangentially. If it is pulled towards this, it will be like this. So this side or this side, towards left or towards right, but it will be always tangential. So this point also we have covered. What is the third law of limiting friction? It says that the magnitude of the limiting friction is directly proportional to the magnitude of the normal reaction between the surfaces in contact. And from this experiment, it is also found that the limiting friction is red visible. The limiting friction is directly proportional to the normal reaction. The magnitude of the limiting friction, FL, is directly proportional to the magnitude of the normal reaction between the surfaces in a contact. This is always seen that if you are taking a bigger load, let us say it's 1 kg, and you repeat the same experiment with a 2 kg, 3 kg, 4 kg, if you increase the mass here, the weight also is increasing, and hence its normal reaction also is increasing, and it is seen that the frictional force also is increasing. The limiting value of the frictional force also is increasing. So frictional force is directly proportional to the normal reaction. And two factors, right? It's also depending on the surfaces in contact, the nature of surfaces in contact. Now this limiting friction is directly proportional to the normal reaction. If one variable is directly proportional to another variable, the first variable must be equal to some constant of proportionality multiplied by that variable. This mu is a constant of proportionality And we know that the limiting friction depends on the nature of a surfaces in contact, and the nature of a surfaces in contact are determined by this constant. This constant varies with different pairs of with for different nature of the surfaces in the contact, and that's given a name. This constant of proportionality is given a name coefficient of friction. Coefficient of friction, and this coefficient of friction will naturally vary from different pairs of surfaces. This mu also will vary. Mu is the symbol for coefficient of friction. So Fl is equal to mu r, or it is also said Fl means maximum frictional force. Fmax also is written in some books. So Fmax is equal to mu into normal reaction. This is the third point. And what says the fourth law of limiting friction? Magnitude of limiting friction is independent of the area and the shape of the surfaces in contact as long as the normal reaction remains the same. For example, there is a block having certain length, breadth and height. Now if we put it in this fashion and drag it, you repeat the experiment by putting it this way. By putting it this way, or you just put it this way, and drag it. That means, let us say this is the block. Now keeping this is the surface area of contact. Like this, if you make it a slide, what is the frictional force? And on this surface, if you put what is the surface, and you keep like this, and then measure what is the frictional force. All the time, the magnitude of limiting friction is independent of the area and the shape of the surface in contact as long as the normal reaction remains same. See, if the same object, if you keep like this, like this, like this, or like this, or like this, however you are keeping it, the mass of this object is same only. That's why normal reaction is same only. As long as the normal reaction is the same, then the magnitude of a limiting friction also doesn't vary. Okay. Now, there may be one doubt in your mind that at one point of time I say that a new theory proposed that the cause of friction is the actual area of contact, right? Now, the cause of friction is the actual area of contact. That means if the actual area of contact increases, the frictional force also should increase. How the magnitude of the limiting friction is independent of area? It is like this. See, if you are keeping like this area, there is a tendency that the area in contact will be reducing, but at the same time the pressure will be more. That's why these two surfaces which are in contact will be pressed more. So area of contact again will increase. Now since from here to here you moved, area is decreasing, but because of the pressure increasing in pressure, actual area is again increasing. So how much a decreasing effect, that much increasing effect also is taking place, and that is the reason you are keeping it like this or like this or like this. It doesn't matter as long as the normal reaction remains the same. Absolutely clear, right? Now one more thing, when we say F is equal to mu times R, F is the frictional force, mu is the coefficient of friction between the surfaces in contact, and R is the normal reaction. There we have to keep in mind that there are two scenarios. One is static scenario, one is a kinetic scenario. For example, there was a frictional force till the body has not started to move only, and that was called static friction, and one maximum point came, that the limiting friction, and that the limiting friction only is equal to mu multiplied by R, right? Actually the frictional force can be zero also. If the pulling force, applied force is zero, frictional force also will be zero. So it can be zero also, and at maximum it can be the limiting friction, and that formula of the limiting friction is equal to mu times R. Clear? When this formula is applied, we have to see to calculate the frictional force. Generally F is equal to mu R we will take in various occasions, right? whenever we are taking this, applying this in a numerical, we have to see whether the object is actually moving or it is a tendency of moving. Then the coefficient of static friction is given the symbol mu s, and coefficient of a kinetic friction is given a symbol of a mu k. If the object is moving, then frictional force will be mu k times r. This is the coefficient of a kinetic friction, and F will be mu s times r when the body is at a rest. This is coefficient of a static friction. Okay. Now this is only when coefficient of a static friction is this much, coefficient of kinetic friction is this much, if it is specified in the question, or otherwise we may not take these things into account, because in practice these two are nearly equal. Okay, for example, if coefficient of a static friction is let us say 0.44, then coefficient of a kinetic friction may be 0.42, like this. A little alteration will be there, and that too is so small that for practical reasons it may be neglected. And you have to apply this formula only when in the question it is specified coefficient of kinetic friction is this much, coefficient of static friction is this much. If it is given, then only you have to consider that if the body is at a rest or is moving, or if there is a relative motion between the surfaces in contact, or there is a tendency of a relative motion in the surfaces of contact. You have to look at that. So static friction will be less than or equal to mu r, right? Mu r is the limiting friction, that is static friction is less than or equal to limiting friction. At max, static friction will be limiting friction at maximum, or static friction may be 0.